Good evening, my dear watchers. One more thing. Well, this is the one you all been waiting for. You know, after reading I Am Legend and seeing The Last Man on Earth, along with Omega Man and that Will Smith I Am Legend, it kind of makes me wonder, what would happen if vampires have to deal if the world is coming to an end? A post-apocalyptic movie that I've seen pretty much got my attention. Now, this movie was filmed in Australia, but they have some good actors in it who's not exactly Australian. Yes, it's a vampire movie, and it's set in the future. The future where now vampires made their own society, made their own town. And the movie I'm reviewing for you today is Daybreakers. Now, Ethan Hawke, he plays a guy who is a vampire, and he starts to realize that the population of the vampire world is dying down because they're getting low on blood. And synthetic bloods or blood mixed with food or drinks, they're not working. And most people who are vampires are dying and turning themselves into monsters desperate for blood. Now, Sam Neill here, he plays a head vampire. And what he's trying to do is trying to find a way to get the vampire race to stay what they are. But they can't stay without blood. Now, to me, as the oldest vampire, I can last long without blood. But sometimes I do need it just to keep my youth. And that's it. It doesn't kill me or anything. Makes me turn into a horrifying monster, but that's it. So, Ethan Hawke, he found a group of humans, and he figured out that the vampire troops are killing each and every human to extinction. And even Sam Neill himself kidnapped his own daughter and turned her into a vampire, even though she doesn't want to be a vampire. So he turned her out of her own free will. Now, if I have a son or daughter who are human, I wouldn't turn them into vampires unless they ask. That's me. But sadly, his daughter, who became a vampire, starts going after him, so he has to kill her. While Ethan Hawke, on the other hand, he meets this human girl, and he starts getting interested to her. And much to his surprise, he found Willem Defoe in this movie. And much to his surprise, he remembered that Willem Defoe was a vampire. And Willem Defoe told him this: he was once a vampire. Until the time when the sun was about ready to shine, he was trying to get out of the sun as quick as he can. And the sun burned him pretty bad until the sun blinded him. He couldn't see, and he hit. And then he hit something. It caused him to zoom out of the front of his car and into the water. Now, most vampires would have burned from the water, but from the sunlight and the water, it turned Willem Defoe into a human being. So now Willem Defoe, decided to help Ethan Hawke to turn him back to normal, while Ethan Hawke's brother and his troops keeps trying to wipe out the rest of the human race by the order of Sam Neill. Then from out of nowhere, his brother, Ethan Hawke's brother, attacked Willem Defoe, and he thought it was the end. But here's a shocker. It didn't turn Willem Defoe into a vampire, but turned his brother back to normal. Turned him human. So now Ethan Hawke has to battle a bunch of vampire troops in order to get to Sam Neill. Because Sam Neill is the only one who's killing the humans. So what he did, he tricked Sam Neill to let him drink his blood. And Sam Neill did trick him and bit him and sucked his blood. But little did he know, the blood turned Sam Neill human. And a bunch of vampire troops found him. But seeing him as a human being, they attacked him and tore him to shreds and feast on his blood. And then all of a sudden the troops are turning normal. And then other vampire troops sees them as humans, they attack them and they turn human. So now the vampire cure have been spreading out. So now the vampire race is no more. So the human race will live on in the future. Now, if you ask me, this was a very good movie. Very scary, very dramatic, and very violent, I'll say. Some brief nudity into it, but I let it slide. If nudities are brief, slide. Now, for me, my thoughts, if the situation will be more like this, you know, I don't mind turning back to normal. But of course the problem is, if I become normal, all my powers will be gone. But sometimes I wonder when I ever decided to become human so I can go through the same experience as I was when I was alive. But that's just a thought. 'Cause I am Count Dracula, Lord of the Vampires. Hated by the devil and hated by the zombies. 'Cause I find these zombies disgusting. But friend to the multi-voice reviewer and Mr. Death. Among others, of course. Now, I'm afraid this video is short because there was no other things involving on Daybreaker. Although I would say the guy who created that movie, Daybreaker, made that zombie comedy called Undead. Now, take my advice, you should watch that movie, The Undead. It's a zombie movie, but absolutely hilarious. And now it's time for me to depart. But I will be back for more reviews of vampire movies and franchises. So if you like this review of Daybreaker, please leave a comment down below, hit like, and subscribe. And for those of you who will not subscribe, beware. Well, time to go. Good night. Good night. What are you doing here? The review is over. Go home. Oh no, wait, this is YouTube. You are home. What was I thinking? Anyway, go. Go to another show. Oh. Get lost.